Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sustainable Fitness Diary. This is episode number 12. This might be the last episode for a little while just because I'm going on a holiday. If you are a regular listener and you don't hear from me for some time, it doesn't mean that I stopped. I am just taking a bit of break, but I'm hoping that I can pre-record at least one more episode and release it in June. But if I don't, I'll just resume again in July. Today we are talking about twice per week of training and how to make most out of it. Because if you're someone who has limited time to train, you might be a busy professional or you just have a crazy season of life. I just want to show you how to make 2 days per week of training work so you can actually still achieve results and keep building sustainable fitness habits. We are just going to talk about why would you want to even train just twice per week. Why do I recommend every beginner wanting to build long-term habits to start with less frequency and build up more later? What to focus on when training only twice per week with limited time? What are the realistic outcomes when you are training only twice per week? I'll share with you my own experience, and also we're going to touch a bit on the research, what it says about training just twice per week. And I know you are probably thinking 2 days that might not be enough. You've seen the Instagram posts, you've seen those crazy coaches telling you to train hard, train frequently, train at least 3 or 4 days per week. And they just trying to convince us that more is always better, that anything less than 3 or 4 days is basically not optimal, and that you are not really serious about your goals. But I want you to consider this. What if the barrier to your consistency isn't your motivation or your discipline? What if it's just a standard that doesn't fit your actual life? Because if you do 2 days and you do well, it can actually get you further than 4 days per week done inconsistently or with resentment. So let's just talk about it. First, let's acknowledge the obvious reasons why would you want to train only twice per week. It can be lack of time, your life is just a bit crazy right now, or you are working long hours, you care for kids or your parents, you might be studying, you are running business, or you're just trying to keep your head above water during very demanding seasons. And 2 sessions a week might be all you can really commit to right now without sacrificing your sleep, your relationship, or your actual sanity. But there's another reason that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's the one which I care about very deeply. Training twice per week can be a strategic choice if you are building a sustainable relationship with fitness. If you've spent years in the all or nothing cycle, like going really hard for weeks or even months and then burning out, for example, the typical January start and then just stopping by March, then twice per week might actually be the frequency that can break the pattern. It's the frequency that can let you show up consistently for years and not just for a few weeks or a few months. And I've said it so many times, consistency over time beats intensity every single time. If you are training twice per week for a year, you are actually doing about 104 sessions. That's actually 104 opportunities to keep getting stronger, actually reinforce the habit and prove yourself that you are someone who keeps showing up inside your fitness journey. If you compare to someone who trains, let's say 5 days a week for 2 months and then stops entirely, that's only 40 sessions followed by nothing. I think I would just take those 104 sessions per year, right? Here is why I actually recommend beginners to start with less frequency. When someone comes to me wanting to build long-term habits, I often recommend they start with less frequency than they think they need and just build up from there over time. Because at the beginning, you don't want to really maximize your physical adaptations. The goal is to just build the identity of someone who trains consistently. I just want you to think about it this way. If you commit to 2 days per week, you can hit that target even during your worst weeks. You can hit it when you are traveling. You can hit it when work might be a bit busy. You can hit it when you are tired, stressed, or just not feeling it. Because 2 days it's quite achievable. 2 days doesn't require you to just be under the right conditions. And when you hit your target every single week, you are building the confidence that you can actually keep doing it long term. And then once that habit is actually locked in, it feels very automatic. It feels like brushing your teeth. Then you can add more if you want to. Now, what would you want to focus on when you are training only twice per week? You've got only 2 sessions. You got limited time. So how do you make them count? The first principle is doing full body workouts. If you are training only twice per week, you just can't afford to do lower and upper body split just because you don't want to wait the whole week to train the same muscle group again. Every session needs to hit all the major movement patterns, something for your legs, something for pushing, something for pulling, maybe some single exercise, and then something for your core. A simple framework might look like this. You do 1 lower body push exercise, can be squat, 1 lower body hinge exercise, can be some deadlift variation, and then upper body push, whether that is a vertical or horizontal push, then vertical or horizontal pull movement, and then if we do have the time, adding that core and accessory movement. You are covering all your bases every time you walk into the gym. The second principle is to prioritize those compound movements. With limited time and frequency, isolation exercises are a luxury you probably can't afford. You need to do exercise that give you the most efficiency, movements that work multiple muscles at the same time. That means doing barbell back squats over doing leg extensions, doing deadlifts over hamstring curls, doing barbell rows over bicep curls. So you are working on your entire body, not just working on individual muscles. The third principle is progressive overload. It's important, but it's slightly different. You probably won't be able to add weight on the bar every single week with this frequency, but that's okay because progressive overload can be just training closer to failure, can be adding extra rep, can be adding extra set, can be just increasing the tempo. There are so many ways how you can actually do the progressive overload. Fourth principle is that you make every rep count. If you are training only twice per week, you need to train with intent. That means you have to slow down, focus on the eccentric, feel the muscle actually working, and also you need to train close to failure because that's what's going to give you that result. And finally, you need to protect these 2 sessions, lock them in, schedule them like you would schedule an important meeting. They are your non-negotiables. Because if 2 days is your baseline and then you start dipping below that, you are not maintaining anymore, you are actually backsliding. You are probably wondering what are the realistic outcomes when training only twice per week. Let's just be honest about what you can and you can't expect. You are not going to make rapid, crazy changes to your physique in a matter of weeks. If you want to look like a bodybuilder in 3 months, this frequency might not be for you. But if you're listening to this podcast, you know that we're talking about sustainable fitness habits. So if your goal is to get stronger and improve your quality of life and build muscle gradually over time, then yes, twice per week can absolutely get you there. You can still build strength. Research shows that training a muscle group twice a week is actually optimal for hypertrophy and strength gains, especially if you're a beginner and intermediate. You are just hitting that sweet spot where you are giving enough stimulus to adapt, but also enough recovery time for your body. You can definitely also maintain muscle mass if you've built a base of strength and muscle in the past by training a little bit more. 2 sessions a week is more than enough to just hold on to what you've built. This is huge for people who are traveling, dealing with a busy work period, or even navigating a life transition. You are not losing what you've built, you are maintaining. You can build that habit, and that's one of the most important outcomes of all. Because once the habit is there, you've proven to yourself that you can show up constantly for months and years. You've built something that no workout program can give you. You've built the confidence and you have that discipline. What you probably won't do is peak for a bodybuilding show or have a crazy personal record. But let's just be real. That's not what most people need. Most people just need to be strong, healthy, and consistent. And twice per week can absolutely get you there. I want to share with you my own experience with training twice per week because I've been there so many times. Actually, been training twice per week right now. Last year, when we started preparing for our first fitness race, I have decided to train 5 days per week, and that was 4 days of strength sessions plus some cardio in there, and then 1 or 2 days of running, and my body just didn't like it. And in February this year, or maybe in March this year, I have made a decision that I'm just going to train twice per week weights, and then 1 day whatever I want, something fun, whether that is conditioning or running or something else. And I have just decided to maintain my strength until I actually know what I want to focus on, whether that is to go back to powerlifting, whether it is to focus on running or do air fitness race. I'm just maintaining right now, and I'm very happy with that. And honestly, I haven't lost any muscle mass. Maybe my strength have dipped a little bit, but that was expected. I'm feeling recovered. I'm feeling much happier. I have time for other things in my life. Because really, let's be real, not everyone wants to train 5 days per week. People just want to have life and do other things as well. What does the research actually say about training just twice per week? Let's look at what it says, because I think it's actually more encouraging than you might expect. Training twice per week can produce similar strength gains to training 3 times per week. And it's actually, even when you train with such low frequencies, it's still very beneficial. So if you train once per week, you can get a good result, but twice per week was still superficial. And there is something very interesting about the minimum dose of training. So if you do just a single set per exercise, done close to failure, you can still get meaningful strength and muscle gains, especially if you're a beginner. So if you are doing 2 full body sessions per week with multiple sets per exercise, you are actually well above the minimum effective dose. And the key, as always, is the intensity and effort. You are training twice per week, and you need to train with intent. If you're only going through the motions, checking your phone between sets, just half-assing the exercises, then you will probably not see much progress. You need to push yourself appropriately, train close to failure, and actually challenge your body, because that's what's going to drive the real and meaningful change. And what can actually happen when you stop training or significantly reduce your frequency? So if I'm someone who was training 4 days a week and suddenly drop down to twice per week, the good news is that it takes longer to lose strength and muscle than you might think. You will not fall apart if you miss a week or 2. If you do train twice per week for a longer period of time, you can actually preserve all your muscle mass and strength too. And this is why I always come back to sustainability, because we do not need to be at the gym 5 or 6 days a week to make progress. You just need to be consistent with whatever frequency you choose and make sure that when you train, you are training with purpose. To close this episode, 2 days per week can be a strategic choice that allows you to build strength, maintain muscle, and stay consistent through all different seasons of life. Because this is the frequency that might fit into actual, real human life. And if you've been stuck in the all or nothing thinking, if you've been waiting for the perfect time to commit to 4 or 5 days a week, or you're feeling guilty because you can't maintain the frequency you think you should be training, then it's time to just let it go. Start with 2 days, do it well, do them consistently, build that habit, build that confidence, and then if and when you want to add more, you will be adding from a place of strength, not starting over from scratch again. At the end of the day, the best training program isn't the one that looks impressive on paper, it's the one you will actually do. And that's all for today's episode. I will talk to you soon.